So what we've just done here is start a podcast without a name.
That's fucking amazing.
Keelan's.
Me opening another beer.
Welcome to what we've penciled in the name as the the parkour podcast. But I don't think that name will stay forever. I'm very keen to hear input on what the name could potentially be for this podcast. We were thinking what the Motus.
It was the Motus Prodcast, but I think a lot of people have chosen Prodcast.
Hold up, I'm gonna move my mic slightly so I can kind of look at you.
Oh, okay. This makes more sense.
There we go. Then we can
I feel like we have to earn our place if we want to call it the Parkour Podcast,
or the parkour. Yeah. Not the podcast.
No,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
the podcast.
Yeah, that's the thing. I was down for Prodcast, but lots of people have gone for Prodcast. Yeah, I know what you mean. And before we go any further, I've had the idea of doing a podcast for many years now, but an amazing friend of ours, Brandon Douglas of Apex and Merm fame and everything else, Colorado based, has been running the Height Drop oh my god. Height Drop podcast for a good couple of years now, and it's one of my favorite things to listen to. And I've always been wary of doing a podcast because I've always wanted his podcast to be the parkour podcast. But
I'm going to embarrass myself because I still haven't listened to any of his podcasts. I don't think.
You haven't even listened to the one me and George did?
No, I haven't even listened to the one. I'm going to have to listen to that.
It's honestly one of the best things that was ever since the internet was started. It's one of the best things ever recorded. Not because of my shit, because
because George is involved.
George, obviously,
that's why.
yeah.
It always will be.
Like we know because of George. But yeah, shout out to Brandon. The reason for what have we got written down? We've got intro and then the word beginnings, which I think
is this the dawn of time, or is this as in of Motus, or between how us two?
Well, the dawn of time seems to vary depending on who you speak to and what really.
I don't mean in a general state. I mean of Motus.
I think beginnings, maybe more specifically regarding the podcast. Why the podcast? Because we've started getting comments going, is Motus dead? And it was I wrote out a content plan months ago I was like 2019, we're going to smack it. We're now here March 15th and this is the first piece of content being made. I mean, that's fucking shocking.
But I feel like also it's one of the most, it's one of those forms of content that is on the rise out of all of them, even though it still might not be the most popular form of content. It's on the rise more and more and more. Do you know what I mean? I still haven't listened to loads of podcasts, but I hear my friends nowadays talking about them more and more. I don't know. It's
no, totally. I will claim this, and no one even can fucking try and disagree with me because I don't think anyone else. Basically, me and Jamie, who's my ex-business partner, had the first parkour-related podcast going. I mean, this is close to... When was this? This is, years and years and years ago. We called it We Film Everything. We spoke about filmmaking and parkour. And we had Tim Sheaf on there. Toby Seagar was on there. This is Toby, when Stora was barely even a thing. And unfortunately, I think only 3 episodes are now available on the podcast app. I looked the other day. But, so I've done podcasts before they were cool because I'm a fucking hipster, obviously, but...
Trendsetter.
Yeah, exactly. I started it all for Joe. Joe Rogan basically heard We Film Everything and was like, let's get on this. But, yeah, I want to be churning out way, way, way more content with Motus as a brand, and myself and Keelan are trying to get together more often to work on edits, ideas, etc., and a podcast is kind of another one of those, content streams that we wanted to put out because I since getting a dog and since living in the countryside, I listen to a podcast almost every single morning or an audiobook, and now I consume a lot of my content through podcast form. So I was like, fuck it, let's do a podcast.
And it's one of the easiest forms, I think, of content for sure. For us, if we're going to sit down and talk about something, we can easily just whack on a microphone and just get into it.
Yeah.
Not hold anything back and just go.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
Just keep talking, Keelan. We are new to this, so just say some stuff.
Dickhead, cunt, wanker.
Okay.
Hello.
It looks like you're getting close to peaking on.
I know. I was worried about that when I was.
I do apologise. we're what 5 minutes 20 in. If the audio is sounding awful,
we've got 2 different mics as well. It's not the same mics.
We're new to this, but we'll get there. One day we'll be professionals.
I mean, you have got more practice than me, as this is my first podcast. I've tried once before and it's been a failure, but this is...
I mean, basically you just stand there and you talk. Well, actually,
it's easy peasy, but it's like...
Oh no, that was amateurish, wasn't it? Was Toby Seagar laughing at a WhatsApp clip?
Saying Jim, was that Kai's thing?
Yeah,
I can't even say, is that in Fugly?
That's in Fugly.
No
but
one
I mean,
knows
you
about
can't even say any more about that.
No one knows about it.
Yeah, but actually, I mean, that brings us onto a nice tangent there. I fully am down for this podcast to be the fucking place on the internet where you get not only a little bit of the more raw, explicit, not kind of... YouTube's so like, oh, you can't swear in the first 30 seconds of a video now because we'll block it and all this. You want to come to this podcast, it's going to be fucking a little bit rude, probably, and also it might have a little bit of secret info, not secret info, but like if you're going to... It's going to be this podcast, I'll tell you this now, this podcast will be the place where you find out the news, the stuff, whatever it is. Donald Trump's fucking had an abortion before anybody else. It's the place on the internet.
It will be for sure.
Yeah.
I'm kind of scared because I don't want to make enemies with this, but also
It's nothing to do with making enemies. It's just a case about leaking information. Like Storrer's putting out their first album next week, and it's a Korean rap pop album.
But I say that because maybe in my head I say I don't want to make enemies because there's already so many people I dislike on the internet without, no one knows this.
Keelan's got a lot of built-up anger inside him. You think he's a nice
I'm
chap.
nice on the outside, but I'm very, very two-faced. Probably. A lot of social media stuff is really pissing me off lately.
Yeah, but you're an angsty teen.
Oh yeah.
What are you? 19.
Yeah.
You got like
maybe I'm more
8 months left of being an angsty teen, and then you just become a grumpy 20-year-old.
Oh yeah. Well, when you get to that age, you lose like the sense of what's trendy and what's not. So
you're slowly becoming unfashionable.
Yeah.
Fucking hell! I swear, the last year I've been walking out the house like when I first moved to this town, and I was kind of like I've got to stay like looking. And now I walk out the house looking awful. Just trend and any attempt. I don't know. Like I always think about someone like Jason Paul. I feel like he doesn't walk out the door unless he's kind of really thought like, okay, I look like Jason Paul. Whereas I swear people who see me walking down the high street, fuck me, I bumped into one of my mates the other day. No, not even a mate. I don't know him anymore. Like he's a guy I went to school with over a decade ago. He runs a company with one of the people from Made in Chelsea.
Oh, wow.
So he's like, oh, hi, Giles. Nice to meet you, yeah. And all this.
And he lives here?
I don't know where he lives. And I was wearing like trackies, some fucking scatty hoodie. I walked to the shop to buy a multi-pack of baked beans because I just wanted... Sarah was cooking and I was like, I need baked beans. So I went to the shop and I'm holding these baked beans and he's like, oh, what are you up to? And I'm like, yeah, we've just got a house here. And he's like, oh, You've moved back home.
No.
That's nice. I hope he doesn't listen to this because he's not actually that posh, but that's just how I make people sound.
You got to get the caricature.
Yeah, character.
Well,
caricature. I guess
is the over exaggerated of
very
the
true.
character, isn't it?
Very, very
the
true.
GCSE drama, it helps.
It helps.
No, I know what you mean because like even today, I was like, okay, I'm coming to your house. I'm leaving late. Do I stick? I was just wearing a tracksuit.
Yeah.
But I was kind of like, I want to start buying clothes and wearing clothes that I like, and I'm not just going to wear them because, I mean, obviously one thing is just being comfy. But if you want to dress you, I feel like you should do that all the time if you want to dress you. I know that's the right explanation.
Yeah. There is this weird thing, though, where, like, I don't know, fashion is so... I think it's this whole...
Well, fashion's starting to become more sort of... Look at me. Oh, it always has been, but it's starting to become more bold.
Well, and also social media is very look at me. Like you're performing every single day of your life. So
as you live in a village, if you want to hit those standards, if you walk out the...
I mean, I could, to be fair, living in this little village, I could probably just put on like what I would consider a kind of decently smart outfit and outdress the majority of people in the village.
Yeah.
That sounds fucking weird. That sounds like an arrogant... what I mean is like I'm surrounded by people who are either wearing like... I mean, to be fair, they're probably wearing more expensive clothes than me because they all wear like Barber jackets and Hunter wellies and things, and it's like, or like your matching Adidas tracksuit and things, which I have no problem against. I'm not trying to say I'm some fucking snobby person.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that I feel like I think this is it's the insecurities that social media creates. Like I walk out and go up, and I think if I bump into anyone I went to school with, and they probably see me on Facebook and Instagram, like maybe doing a bit of traveling, or I don't know, like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I run a clothing brand, and I'm dressed in like like a Woodward hoodie that I've got the like last week's previous baked beans spilt over, and I'm holding a can of baked beans, and I'm like, yeah, I run a clothing brand. And they're like, oh, really? Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
That's so weird though, because it's like that for me. Even today, I have the same scenario, but maybe the opposite sort of thing that's going through my head. That I was in Sainsbury's doing my shopping for my parents, because now that I have a car, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to bump into anyone I know just because it takes up time. But when I do see someone I know, I'm more thinking like, I don't know what they're doing in their life. I don't know if they see me as a weirdo for trying too hard in life.
Yeah.
As now I'm like vlogging and shit.
Because they see your YouTube videos, right?
Yeah, so
yeah.
I'm thinking like, oh, I don't know whether they think I'm a tryhard, which
Yeah.
it's like everyone should be a tryhard, really. You want to try hard to do like successful things.
And social media, YouTube, etc., is now a reliable platform to at least try and build a career. So it's like it's not an idiotic thing to do. Siri just apparently.
My phone's on the floor and somehow Siri, shut up.
Oh, today Siri. Oh my God, what is going on?
Oh, that's me saying Siri.
So, I mean, here's a little bit of gossip. Our latest sponsored athlete, I don't know when this podcast is going to come out, just messaged saying, I just realised I'm going to need a visa for America. Do you know a good site to apply?
Oh, I'm hitting the fucking table.
He doesn't need a visa, he needs an ESTA. He's chilling.
Do you not need a visa to go to America?
Just an ESTA. By
What's
the
the
way,
difference?
funny story, last year, I was asleep at Brandon Douglas's house of Height Drop fame. And in the middle of the night, I get multiple texts and phone calls, and Max and Robbie, who were meant to be traveling from Copenhagen at the time, flying to America to compete at the Apex International and then move on to an APC, were denied getting onto their flight because when their passports were stolen in 2017, their ESTA, which is your visa, your 90-day visa to get you into America, obviously then as their passports got stolen, it's attached to the passport, so that ran out. And they were phoning me and going, Giles, we've just missed our flight. Like the flights that Woodward had paid for, which were hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pounds each. And within about 12 hours, my incredible partner Sarah ended up helping us out and helping book new flights for them to get them out there. And
That's shit. I did not know that you were in America when that happened.
I
for some reason thought I knew you weren't at home because Sarah had to sort it out, and I know Sarah had to sort out a lot of shit. And I don't know if she got like the thank you from them, but like
I think she got a thank you. I don't think she got any money back. It's another thing I owe my girlfriend.
Nice.
That was an interesting one. But anyway, we're fucking jumping all over the place. What should we go back to? Tangent onto Motus plans for future.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Anyone who comments things like, oh, his Motus died, what's going on with Motus? I will see it and I will have an existential crisis and get very worried because every day for the last 12 months I've been grafting on Motus but haven't necessarily been putting out content. Now I'm finally in a position to start putting out content, but I'm still sorting out a few things and also just trying to get people in one place to do it. And thankfully Keelan is the one local lad who's helping this.
Yeah, but people think that like, I don't know, you're explaining to them that you're grafting. People don't know it's not just you that needs to put in work. Everyone needs to put in work, but maybe not everyone knows, because I still get comments about this. We all in Motus live in different parts of England. Like George lives in Ireland, obviously. Like people,
Robbie and Johnson live in Scotland.
But there's going to be people who don't know this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like we all live a distance away.
Half the people who ask this live in America, where like a 6-hour drive is nothing to them.
Exactly.
Because saying like, oh, Max and Luke live 3 hours away sounds.
Fuck
all right, you need to just throw your phone out the window, Siri. On the other side of the room, Siri's like, "Hello, mate. How you doing?"
It's because he wants to get in on this. He knows that it's like it could be a three-way.
Could be a three-way. Yeah, I mean, Max and Luke only live 3 hours away, but apparently that's enough to mean that we don't actually see them that often. I'm not farting, by the way. If you can hear that, I'm leaning on a stool.
two stools.
Yeah, 2 stools.
No, it is. They're not too far away, but because they're so far away, we need to plan things in advance, and that
If anyone
takes
can
time.
hear this, I'm just turning Keelan down by 1 decibel.
Nice. And yeah, everyone's got a lot of stuff going on. Robbie's obviously, he's always doing a lot of work. I feel like Johnson and Robbie both doing a lot of work.
Robbie is the busiest unbusy person. No, Johnston is the busiest unbusy person I've ever met. Johnson is about to go to Thailand for a month to have a month off because he claims he's so tired and from working.
That's where he is right now.
No. He's in Dubai doing one job, a job for 3 days, and then he's flying home. And then in a few days, he's going to Thailand for a whole month to take some time off.
If I was going to take some time off, I'd stay in England and train.
I've had 2 holidays in the last 7 years.
I don't find holidays a time off.
I was meant to go on holiday with Sarah, and I just stressed the entire time because I wasn't getting things done.
You end up on holidays, you end up spending way more money than you should do,
Yep.
which just creates stress.
Yep.
You're not at home, so you can't think. Do you know what I mean? You can't think rationally because you're just thinking about when I get back home, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
For like, if you want time off, you just need to go and do something you enjoy. Well, everyone enjoys different things.
The time I am least stressed is when I am the most productive.
Yeah.
And when I'm away and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go on my laptop for 8 hours. I mean, I had a really good time. We went to the Isle of Wight, just took our dog and did some country walks and things, and it was lovely. But
that sounds fun. And
it was
super
nice.
England,
And I need
different.
to spend more time with Sarah. Like it's a given fact. But there are large portions of time where I'm like, okay, I shouldn't be on my laptop. I shouldn't be doing this. But if I'm not, then I'm stressing, and therefore I'm unhappy. And
But
if
also,
I'm unhappy, then I'm like, well, I need to be happy because otherwise,
You're stressing because Motus is yours, and at the moment, because like we're saying, everyone's busy. Like the pressure is on you to sort of make the difference right now. Anyway, it doesn't mean that like in the future everyone could sort of. But that's why like it's not like you could just be like.
It's this thing where it's like Motus is mine, but if somebody wants to step in and say, hey, I'm going to do like 50% of the work, then I'm going to be like, hey, it's yours as well.
Yeah, and I guess it's hard.
Help me, please.
It's hard because of the age that everyone is. Like all the sponsored athletes are like even my age, older or younger, around that time, and like we're all. I mean, we got less stress than you because we don't have to pay for our house and things like that. But we're still figuring out what we want to do.
I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like we are both at different stages in our life. Whereas I am at this stage where I am so committed to doing what I'm doing, but I am not quite there. So for those listening, by the way, I'm 29. Keelan is 19. It's a 10-year difference.
Oh, jeez, I didn't know it was an exact 10-year difference.
Yeah. Exact by 2 months. Wait, when are you 26?
December 26th.
And I'm 24th, so it's almost exactly 2 months. I am at a stage where I have given up all of my filming work that I used to do as a filmmaker to focus entirely on the Motus projects because I want to put everything into it, but it also means I'm earning basically nothing. And I'm at this weird stage where I'm approaching my 30s. Keelan's just sneezing across the room. Approaching my 30s, living with my girlfriend, who is the most important person in my life, aside from parkour, if that was a person. And it's scary. Like, I mean, undoubtedly it's scary. And the last few years, I've had a whole load of kind of mental battles because it's like, shit, I'm still not earning very much. I'm struggling to build this brand and do something impactful whilst also feeling like I should be kind of, I don't know, financially independent and like a mature man. Like, oh, I should be married and have kids on the way, or maybe even I've got friends who have kids. And then Keelan is at the other end of the spectrum where he's like, I'm a kid. Oh wait, I'm almost 20.
Yeah, so I've got to start thinking about, especially because you tell me this sort of stuff a fair amount, because I like to hear about what it sounds weird, but like you telling me that on a personal level kind of, you know, it gives me something to think about. I'm like, okay, when I'm that age, I want to make sure that I got shit sorted out.
And that's the thing is I look at you guys and I'm like, making a living as a parkour athlete is incredibly hard. Therefore, you should diversify and like be a parkour athlete and your own personal brand and a filmmaker and an editor, like diversify. But also like, I don't want Keelan, I don't want Max, I don't want these people who are fucking incredibly talented athletes to be approaching their 30s when actually your athletic abilities start to kind of really slow down.
Yeah.
Struggling and having put the last 10 years into just being an athlete. Because then it's like, I mean, if I convince these guys like for the next 10 years, like, guys, just focus on being an athlete, I promise you'll make it. And then by the time they get to my age, they're like, their knees are a bit shot and they're worn out. and they're like, "Oh, I don't have any money," and I'm like, "Oh, sorry, go get a job at Sainsbury's." Like,
exactly, yeah. It's
that doesn't feel very good from my perspective, and
No.
it's not the way it should be.
But then, like, right now, I've got and this feels minor now compared to, but obviously everyone's difficulties and sort of stresses are different. But like for me, I'd have to think about right now, what can I do to earn a bit of money just so I can live? I know you've got to pay for like loads of shit, but like right now, I'm coaching parkour right now, and it's not quite giving me the amount of money to travel, pay for petrol, and
Yeah.
It sounds like that's it, but obviously other things come in hand. Like
living, eating.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. I know I get like, obviously my parents will have food in the house and stuff, but
I mean, you're also approaching the age where your parents might and could, and it depends on the household. It depends on the family. Like to even a year ago when you were 18, some families just kick out their kids at 18. They're like, go get a job.
My mum left the house at 16.
Yeah.
Like that's happened.
And I think these things weigh in your brain. You're like, oh shit, like how long have I got left to like? And I didn't move out until I was 21, and that's only because we got that Flow contract, and that was insane for a year, and that enabled me to move out. And since then, I mean, Flow, I've said this before, not on record, so I guess here we go on record.
Yeah.
Working for Flow in 2013, I think.
Do people know what Flow is?
I mean, if you don't, the Flow YouTube channel, if you're not aware of that, then rewind. I earned more money in 1 year, I think, than I've ever earned ever since then. Like, I was
most enjoyable work, would you say, as well?
No, there were some incredible trips. It was a lot of work. Like, I mean, it was a lot of just like editing interviews and random stuff. But I mean, yeah, it was that was my step, and that's where I like built my name, I guess. That's where a lot of people know me, and then I kind of slowly from that went on to do Motus and everything.
Yeah. Also, I could say as a viewer from when Flow, obviously I knew you when you were doing Flow, but I didn't know you, I'd say, as well as I do now.
Yeah.
I thought Flow was fucking sick because there was so much content coming out, and
everyone thought that Flow was funded by like Tim Sheaf and stuff like that.
Was it something like Google?
It was
a
company, so like a YouTube type company. Like sorry, that was super vague. Like what are they called?
I don't know.
The companies that like you can sign up to and they sort out your ad revenue for YouTube and things.
Oh right,
MCN or something like that.
Yeah, okay.
So there was this company called Base 79, and they applied to Google. Google put out this like call out for like who wants to get some funding for their YouTube channel, and they were like already established as one of these kind of ad revenue companies, and they put out this. They were like. They contacted Tim and Sam Parham from 3 Run and a few others, and they were like, we're going to do a parkour YouTube channel. And Tim was one of the ambassadors. And Google gave them 250 grand.
What?
250 grand.
Seriously?
And Tim was one of the ambassadors. He got the biggest chunk. Not like into his own pocket. Like they paid it out. And our contract was we had to do 24 hours worth of content in a year. Which doesn't sound like a huge amount, especially now in the days of vlogging. This was in the days where most videos that were coming out were 3 minutes long. The occasional like 15-minute long chaps on tour type thing.
Yeah.
So we sat down for a couple of weeks and we were like, okay, what are we going to do? And they were like, we want a weekly show. And that's where the Flow show came out.
Yeah.
And then they were like, we want documentaries. So we started doing the Farang documentary and stuff like this. But the whole reason this thing came about is because I started working for Tim. I mean, Tim just called me up one day and was like, I want to do documentary content and challenge content. And we started doing Livewire Goes. And we did Livewire's London Challenge as well.
I miss them so much. Like literally everything you've named. I miss the Flow show. I miss Giles Compiles.
Yeah.
Bring that back. I miss parkour-based content that does well. That's not even aimed at anyone.
But when you say does well, you mean like gets 20k views, but those 20k people are like parkour heads rather than like kids skipping their homework to watch mindless vlogs.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's what I think. I think that's why it touched me, because I was only looking for parkour shit on YouTube at that age.
Yeah.
And it's I could find everything on that channel. The documentaries were sick. You know, like the
Hong Kong documentary is still one of the best things I ever made.
Yeah, that's so sick.
I
and
watched
also
it a while
branched out. Storm obviously made after that. Then Storm had a video from that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There was actually good parkour in a documentary. It was really weird.
Yeah.
I really liked that.
No, that was a very good period for me, both in terms of personal growth and sort of financially. I can't remember where we were really going with that, but like, yeah, well, that's our financial situation. But I mean, also that brings us on to like, with Motus has been for the last year. I mean, this sounds so petty in a way. It like for the last year, I've essentially been really taking a step back from doing things like, hey guys, let's go to America for a month and a half and spend loads of money and make content that gets 10k views and we get no money back from it.
Yeah.
And relearning how to run a business. I say learning. Like, I get so many questions every day. How do you set up? How do you run how do you start a parkour brand? How do you do this? How do you do that? Like, and this comes back to schooling. Like, no schools teach you how to run a business. No schools teach you how to think financially when the money starts coming in. And that was what happened is the brand is now, everything's going up, like sales are going up, everything's looking good, but I had no idea really how to run a business. So I really took a step back and just spent some serious time making sure that for this thing to grow and sustain itself, like I was going to do it right, because otherwise it would burn out or I'd burn out. And things are still not perfect, but I mean, so much better than they were a year ago. And I think, like you were saying, there has been this thing where I guess I was, in some ways, a bit of a driving force regarding content. And also just getting everyone together, because I was kind of the grumpy guy, like on WhatsApp going like, guys, come to London next weekend, we're doing something. And because I was like, shit, next weekend I need to sit down and go through the profit and loss or something like that. Like, things got a bit slow, and now suddenly, like the last couple of months, it's really felt like people are starting to notice that.
Yeah.
Like,
I just think like you don't need to. I wish that you didn't need to feel like that, because I wish that everyone else just wanted to push. I guess because people were sponsored with Motus, right? So it's not really officially.
That's the current.
Yeah, that's the current thing.
Here's a little tidbit of information. That's the current plan.
Yeah,
things might change.
I definitely think the way we shot, even the first, I'm gonna say parkour. I don't know why I was gonna say parkour movie, but it feels like that, and it was like 3 minutes long or something. You know, Origins, the first thing we made.
Yeah.
And it tells like when I watch it, I'm like, fuck. It's like, I don't know. It has so much in it to do with like that's old parkour I don't know.
Yeah.
We worked like a team when we made that.
Oh yeah.
But we were just a collective of sponsored athletes.
Yeah, and I mean things have grown a lot since then in terms of athletes and many things. But
I hope that mindsets, because the mindsets back then, I think everyone when we were making that wasn't thinking for themselves. We were just thinking like, I just want to have a good time and push Motus and push myself.
I think
so they were, but also like that was early stages.
Yeah.
Now I feel like everyone expects way too much, and even me sometimes I expect way too much. I'm like, actually, like you said before, I don't want to just push to be an athlete. I want to be able to.
I think complacency is a thing that you see a lot in this sport, and I think that is you get athletes who get their first break, whether it be getting sponsored by a team or maybe having their first viral video and things, and they assume that they are set for a period of time, and it goes away fucking fast. Like, I am notoriously, and in a bad way, a bit too generous, and I've probably sort of done too many like cool things and been like, hey guys, let's go on this trip, let's do this,
America.
Yeah,
that's the biggest example.
That's the biggest example. And the problem is, I mean, any athlete who's like, oh, how do I get sponsored, or like, how do I make it? It's like, you never stop grafting. And Dom is a fucking amazing example of this. Like, he is sponsored by Red Bull, sponsored by Farang, or part of Farang, whatever it is. Like, I mean, he's so well established, but he is never not just building and building and building himself. And there are loads of other athletes to name like that, but just because you get picked up by a team or you get your big break, like,
it's the green light. It's the green light to work fucking double as hard as you are. Because you enjoy it. Because you enjoy it. Why are you doing it in the first place?
Yeah.
Go and work somewhere else. If you're not enjoying putting the hard work in, obviously there's going to be areas of it. Then what the fuck are you doing?
And also, life is not, in some ways, fun unless it's a bit hard, because unless there's some challenge and you get through you get through the adversity and you look back and you're like, oh fuck, I mean, even me looking back to the last year, like when I finally started knuckling down and being like, I'm going to start to run this business properly, I can look back now and be like, holy shit, it wasn't fun. I spent a year, like, it doesn't feel like I've done loads, like, and we edited Spitting in the Wind, which, testament to Keelan, like, unless he had helped out there, it simply would not have happened.
It took way longer than it should have though.
It took so long.
Next time I think we know the formula now.
We know that. Yeah. And also, like,
Premiere was fucking ridiculously annoying during that as well.
But I mean, yeah, here's another testament to Keelan. He never touched Premiere until Spitting in the Wind, and then I mean, all of those crazy effects, all of the crazy everything. Like I did a few episodes on my own, but the 90%, well, maybe 80% of Spitting in the Wind was what you really see. Like I polished it up, I sorted the interviews and things.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
What you see, what you guys as parkour fans will notice in regards to the cuts, the editing, was Keelan. Like, and that's coming from me as someone who this is the thing I really struggle with. Like, I still get people who come up to me and are like, "Oh, you're an amazing filmmaker. I love the fact that you shoot on red." And I'm like, I don't shoot on red. I don't think I'm an amazing filmmaker. Like,
I mean, but the thing is, if you didn't exist, then when the fuck would I have learned how to use Premiere? I know you didn't do a proper step. I mean, of course I've used Final Cut and things before.
Yeah.
And they were basic, but like I knew kind of what I was doing, but you definitely would have I wouldn't have had that opportunity to work with Premiere.
But you could have easily learned somewhere else, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I think it's like it's one of those things where I wanted Spitting in the Wind episodes to stand as their own without like plastering them in like edited by Keelan and things. And we've put that in the YouTube description. But really, like, if anyone listening to this, because I mean, I don't know, for Love Movement, people are like Spitting in the Wind, the best thing that came out in 2018. And personally, I think I agree with that. I think.
No, yeah, 100%.
I don't want to blow our own trumpets, but
who else is putting in that work? No, that sounds bad as well.
Oh no! I mean, people are putting out.
They're putting out work, but I mean, making it's hard for us to say because we've done it.
I'm very proud that we managed to get 12 episodes, and it was like consistent quality all the way through, and story, narrative driven.
Yeah,
it wasn't like a one-off banger.
Exactly, and I haven't seen that in parkour since, like we were saying, since Flow. I haven't seen something like that happen.
Yeah,
and like I'm sure we'll talk about this in future podcasts, but I just want parkour to move in the way it was when it was growing quick, and I promise you that was when it was growing quick. Nowadays,
it's funny
just
because
kids. It's just kids watching it who don't know what parkour is.
I think something that I will die by is that this sport is built on progression.
Progression.
I fucked it already. I'm gonna die. My gravestone is gonna be typoed. I like parkour is built on progression. Like the sport does not progress unless people progress physically. But it's the same. Like I never want to like be like, oh, we need to go back to the old days when everyone wore baggy joggers and crawled around on the floor or whatever. But it's not even like I agree with you in that sense. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward, but I want to do more of what I enjoy. And this is something that as I'm getting a bit older, I'm starting to realize, in the sense that like I've tried the clickbait thing, and I think we're going to dedicate a whole episode to this because I mean we're already 32 minutes into this.
No, we can't. I promise you I can go on for so long. And
yeah.
already by you
and
saying,
I want to jump to other tangents that we've got written down, but like
I do agree, it is funner to make stuff like that.
I want to be putting out content that makes me feel happy, because then I can sleep at night essentially.
But also like this, we're going to cut it here so we don't, as in with this sort of topic, but for example, the video we made in the woods with me, you and Johnston.
Great fun. I mean, we slightly messed it up on the edit in terms of, I think we could have cut the...
But that was the first time that we were like, all three of us together, we wanted to make a video, and we were like, fuck it, let's actually make...
And we just made like a pretty parkour
video.
Yeah.
And personally, I mean, obviously, back then, I don't think I was caring as much about the brand as I do now. I went home and I was like, I'm so happy we did that.
Because it was such a good day.
And it's just so good. But we'll talk about
it. Was that was such a fun day. And I think people didn't like the edit because it was like 3 minutes of beauty and then 6 minutes of just fails. But personally, for me to watch back, I'm like, that made me happy. And therefore, I don't need to, Anyway, so our tangent is, I mean, what
now we're talking about like,
what we were trying to get onto.
Parkour and sort of things, and like moving away from the generics of, we haven't even said this, but vlogging and stuff.
We're going to dig up basically footage from 2 years ago and make it into the best edit that came out in 2019.
Yeah.
Is that where you were going?
Well, I wasn't, but now you said that.
Oh, where were you going?
No, don't worry. We'll go on.
Well, I mean,
you're talking about...
Keelan is currently editing the action edit of Spitting in the Wind, which is something we've spoken about since Spitting in the Wind was starting to be edited.
It's so hard you announcing it because it's like, I'm still editing it, but he's still going to come out.
There's a long way to go, but it's exceptional. And I mean, that might be a bit of a bold statement, me saying it'll be the best edit of 2019, but it's going to be, half an hour?
It's going to be, the only way to describe it is, if any of you know skating, it's going to be a skate part which usually is around 30 to 40 minutes long.
I mean, look, we're 35
With
minutes into
just
this podcast.
parkour.
Imagine this entire time you've just been watching
Parkour and fucking... It's not just parkour and maybe a few...
bit of fuckery. Like,
few fuckery moments that sometimes weren't on the episodes that you saw from Spitting in the
I
Wind.
think there's a fair amount
there's
that
a fair
isn't
amount.
shown before.
Exactly.
Granted, the majority of action you would have seen it before, but it's in new context. It's got some stuff beforehand, and I mean, I watched what Keelan's done so far, and the thing I'm loving about Keelan since he's started editing like properly is, as a filmmaker, and anyone who is a filmmaker or sort of cares about video, you'll know this, is like when someone is editing something for you, you kind of stress when you know you're going to have to watch their stuff because it might not meet your expectation. Whereas with Keelan, I sit there and I'm like, oh, sick, this is done. Like, and I'll probably
That's
watch
good
it.
to
I'll
know.
probably watch it 3 more times and be like, oh,
No,
he
you'll
missed.
find things. Yeah, you'll find things.
Yeah, and I did.
Everyone
Like
does.
when we were editing Spitting in the Wind, he'd do bits and I'd be blown away, and then we'd put it onto my laptop and I'd start doing the grade or sorting out the audio, and I'd fine tune it because I'd find bits. But at the moment, it's fucking outstanding.
Thank you.
So
No,
good.
I do know what you mean though. Because everyone edits different videos for obviously Motus. Different things come out, and
Yeah.
I'd watch it myself and be like, I wish like cuts will happen here. Everyone just edits differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think working as a unit for the Spitting in the Wind series, where I'd edit and then you'd finalize, I think is one of the most perfect formats of creating
Yeah,
big scale things like that. You need 2 people.
like the up and coming Soul Destroyer project, which
Oh,
is the
exactly.
next thing written on our list. So there's a tangent.
Oh shit!
I mean, so I've been slowly. I'm a big fan of like ramping exposure in terms of sort of slowly building the awareness of things. I do it quite a lot with clothing collections, and I feel like I'm quite eagle-eyed, and with some brands and companies and filmmakers and things I like to look out for those little clues that they're dropping. So I like to drop clues, and recently I've just slowly been kind of dropping more and more Soul Destroyer stuff, and we've been playing around with different ideas because we want to go big. Like, people are like, "Oh, when's Resurgence 2 coming out?" And we're like, "We don't want to do Resurgence
But
2
you
because
can't compare it to
Resurgence was the whole." This is the funny thing, right? Is we dropped Resurgence and I named it Resurgence, and everyone went, "Oh, that name's fucking shit. Why'd you call it Resurgence? That sounds so arrogant." That video was then followed by the best year of training that London has had in fucking years.
100%.
Like,
100%.
Dom came to town, people went hard, the Baby 45 was back full pre, like, there was all this crazy shit going on, and I fucking knew, and this is arrogant, and
but it's so
but
fucking
I knew
true.
that if you light a fire in a new spot, like, I mean, London, if you look at the previous couple of years before that video came out, London was getting a little bit weak. Like, people were still doing cool shit, but there hadn't been anything like game changing for a while. And I was like, if we fucking spark this thing off and like change the fucking game, people will, it'll change. Because in my head, London is the capital of parkour. It started in Leeds, but London is where it's at.
No, yeah, it is. Because you can't even, like, they trained in Leeds and they trained in Paris, but where do you get people who are training nowadays daily?
I mean, where do people fly from Australia to visit London?
Yeah, exactly.
London and Europe, obviously, but like it's as much as IMAX is an overplayed spot, there's still new shit to do there. Like,
even like we notice things that are like,
there's some
I might
shit
not
on
be able to do that,
there's
but-
some stuff on the list that might happen in Soul Destroyer. I don't know. I've got a
Have
list
you? Yeah.
that I'm like, oh, if we can, if one of the guys, and I'm a dick because I'm not an athlete. I'm a fat. Well, I'm not fat.
Luke,
but-
try and double down the IMAX 1 Kong 3.
Yeah, I mean, well, that was the
It was an
Resurgence. That was an idea, and I just said to Luke, I was like, "You are capable of this. It's never been done. We know physically it's possible," and he was the first one to do it, and I know he. I mean, I don't want to say I. This is tough. I look back at it and I'm like, shit, did I put that thought in his head too much? Like, I definitely didn't pressure him. Like, I will always say to athletes, if they don't want to do something, like, fucking walk away. Like, the last thing I want is someone getting hurt. But if I know somebody is capable of something and it's just a case of helping them get over that mental barrier.
But you could tell if you said to Luke,
Luke
about the
wanted to
double
do
down,
it. Yeah.
Because he might have already thought about it, but if he hadn't and you give him the idea, he's going to be like, oh my gosh, thank you, Giles. I want to do it. He's not going to be like,
It's the fine balance between you planting a seed, but you'll never ever see me, and I swear by this, you'll never see me being like, fucking send it. Like, I don't know, when I was filming Travis do Conga Double Gainer, I didn't want him to do it. Like, I was fucking terrified. Like that was the scariest thing.
I'd be very scared.
Scariest
too.
thing I've ever filmed in my life, because I haven't worked with Travis that much. I don't know what he's capable of.
It doesn't matter. Kong double gainer hasn't happened outside ever.
And it's just the implication. You do one and a half, and you land on your neck and you die.
Yeah, I know.
And that was all that was going through my head. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. And it was, and there was no part of me that was like, go on, Travis, just fucking send it. Like, I was like, do not.
I'm
like,
sure I wasn't there, but the conditions didn't look like
it was
the
cold.
best.
It was the night, the night after we saw Architects.
Oh,
you
really?
remember? Yeah,
I didn't know it was then.
We stayed at Airbnb. By the way,
Oh.
Architects, outstanding band. By the way, we need more heavy music in parkour. I feel
Yes.
like that's another thing we could talk about for ages.
Definitely.
I
think actually in general, because I know that I fucking love heavy music and I also love the other spectrum, but it's not the other spectrum that everyone else listens to. I just think the music taste in parkour is very...
It's not middle of the road because it's not Radio 1.
No, it's not, but it's also just like, it's really... if you're into
Predictable.
parkour, it's so predictable.
Yeah.
If a video pops up, a new video, it's like, I doubt you're going to hear a song that you're like, wow, I never heard that before.
And obviously, I mean, YouTube's killing it slightly in the sense that now, I mean, even we are forced to use a huge amount of...
epidemic stuff. Well, like, as in copyright free.
Copyright free, yeah. Which is fair enough, but
I don't think people who are making up and coming videos nowadays, they probably won't use specific copyright free music, but it will be the generic hip hop stuff, which you can always get a banger from.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there's a lot more things out there that
create a vibe.
They'll create a different vibe.
Back to the tangent of Soul Destroyer, because I'm still determined. Like,
Yeah.
the thing about Soul Destroyer, right, is I want it to be the equivalent of Resurgence 2. We're filming it in 10 days. That's currently the plan, is to film it in 10 days.
Similar to how we shot Lease, right?
Yeah, Soul Destroyer was shot over 6 months, battling rain and weather, and also just trying to get people in the same place at one time. We shot that Origins video in 5 days.
Yeah.
And even had a rain day on that as well, I
Exactly.
think.
But it wasn't...
But everyone was in one place, and it was like, cool,
Yeah.
this is easy. So we are putting everyone in one... I mean, let's fucking leak it. We're renting a house, and we're going to shoot for 10 days straight. Full focus on one project, and I mean it's gonna be we've got a new athlete joining the team who I'm not gonna announce now, but if he's already come out, then he's out.
Welcome.
Oh my god, what just happened? Oh wait, I think my email just popped up, and okay, we're still recording.
Yeah,
we're still recording.
So the new athlete is George McGowan. You thought I was gonna say something?
Keeling right.
That's me opening a new beer. Sorry, guys.
I think maybe don't speak that close to the microphone because it looks like you're wiping me out off the things here.
What if I talk here?
No, you're very quiet now.
Here.
We're still getting to grips with this, guys.
That's funny.
Oh,
my backpack.
Keelan's
There's a
back.
ghost.
Yeah, and we're renting a
Resurgence,
house, and we're gonna shoot for 10 days, and basically it's full focus. I'm not even that fussed if like people don't do game-changing stuff. Like, there's some things that I'd love to happen. Like, I've got a few things in my head that I'm like, cool, this would be... Because, like I said, I'm all about the physical. I'm all about the progression of the sport through the physical.
Yes.
I want to make a very progressive video. I want it to be...
I want it to inspire people to start making shit like that. Because I don't think, no matter what movement it is, what we're doing right now and the plans that we have in our head is not something that's happening enough.
Yeah. Like, we want to make just fuck the vlogs, fuck anything. Like, I mean, Soul Destroyer as a whole, it's gritty. Like, you've seen the branding. If you haven't already, like, we're leaking it, we're teasing it a little bit.
Yeah.
And we want it to be just kind of, yeah, gritty. Hard. I mean, hardcore is the word, I guess, without sounding lame and cliche. Like,
yeah.
And I don't know. Like, I want to. Where am I even going with this? Oh, just kicked the microphone.
I don't know. Well, where are you going with this without sort of leaking too much information about what we're going to do with Soul Destroyer?
Yeah, true. But yeah, I mean, let's wrap this up because there are other tangents I want to get onto, and then we're already making this thing long.
Okay.
Actually, shout out to the dog walkers, by the way, because about this time I'm still on a dog walk and I'm still enjoying that podcast. So,
well, like, okay, we're talking about a lot of this podcast so far. It's been to do with parkour, obviously, and about, you know, pushing it in the right direction, which leads to working harder in pure parkour. It's hard to say pure parkour without sounding like a crawl on the ground type of guy.
which is essentially a PK Gen guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
so I'm not talking about that.
I
But
don't want to shit on PK. No, it's this is hard because PK Gen, there are members of them who do great things, and they're really great people. I think they have been roped into a stereotype of crawling on the ground and doing press ups and trying to sell that as parkour. But we'll avoid that subject.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is, with this sort of shit, and you saying you don't want to push people where they get hurt, we got to try and take care of our bodies, because right now I'm injured.
And I'm a fucking mess.
Your back and neck is
the only reason
screaming.
I'm not sounding like I'm in pain right now is because I've fallen off the wagon and I'm drinking again after a 4-month sobriety period.
My fault.
No, it wasn't your fault.
Well,
that was when we went on
drinks.
holiday. Yeah, this particular night is your fault, but I was on holiday and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna have a drink.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing smack. No, I'm not. I promise you, Mum. I'm sorry. Imagine if my mum listened to this much just to get to that point and then text me, because she would. She'd text me and she'd be like...
She would listen to this much of it, though.
I don't know, but
I feel like even my mum...
She'd probably text me and go, Giles, what's smack? And I'd be like, Mum, it's heroin. And she'd go, oh my God. And I go, I'm joking. She'd go, oh, okay.
Really?
Oh, okay.
Your mum was smart, and also I feel like she's not smart.
My mum is the craziest person. She's so smart, right? But then also we once convinced her, I mean, it's a standard thing that gullible rhymes with orange. And she sat there at the kitchen table going, gullible orange.
No.
But she's fucking intelligent. It's so weird. Anyway, enough about my mum, because otherwise George will start he'll be ringing in. Phoning in the hotline of this podcast. Fuck, we need a name. We really need a name. Motus Radio.
Motus Radio.
Oh, I'd love to have a radio show. Maybe when I'm just a fat alcoholic, I can just sit and just blast.
You can sit with your fat stomach.
I'll just blast metal music and criticize people doing parkour that I could never do. People who are doing double side flip rail prees. Oh my God, that's the thing. And I'll be like, fucking prick, you can't land on your arches, you turd. Anyway, just to wrap that up, basically, Motus this year, we have a lot of content ideas. Hopefully the boys are getting on board. We're going hard. There's a few things in the pipeline, changes, etc. And it's make it or break it, because otherwise I'll get a job at Sainsbury's and do stuff I shouldn't do in my life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so to go where Keelan was running with that tangent, which is the next, pretty much is the second, the next thing on our list. Health, importance of looking after oneself.
Yes, very important. And I feel like I've noticed that way more this year and slightly last year than I have in my whole life.
You know what I've always find really interesting is you go to like an English event, or I don't know, like Nova City, you hang out with a load of English parkour guys. The majority, not all of them, in the evenings, in the mornings, are just fucking around. Like in the evenings, a lot of partying, a lot of drinking, whatever. You go to like NAPC or something, and you sit on that sprung floor at night and you chat, and it's like Nate Weston, people like that are stretching, they're rolling out, they are looking after their bodies, and even he still gets injured. Like I think he's got an injury right now.
I feel like he does get.
But there are people who look after their bodies so well, and these are the guys. A lot of the Americans, and I think maybe it is this gym environment, because they create a space where you can stay for longer, and you can get tired of training, and you can sit on the floor and you can roll out and you can stay social. In London, if you're training, it's a little bit harder to be like, yeah, you guys just do the IMAX double and I'm going to sit here and roll out.
I find it so hard. Even now, I find it hard.
But if you're one of these people who's like, nah, fuck stretching, fuck this, I'll just fucking do big ham jumps to start off or whatever, like, you're an idiot, because you will not last. Like, it's just, you've got to think about how long you can sustain that for. And you think right now you feel fine, but as you get older, niggling things will get to you, because the human body is fucking amazing, but it's not that amazing.
Yeah, but also if you treat parkour like that, I'm sure your parkour is fucking whack. Like, I'm sure, that's a weird word to use. No, but like, if you think like that and you're like, oh, fuck it with that, I'm sure that the way you train and the way that your movement looks is going to reflect the way you treat your body. To
a degree. I think there's certain athletes I can think of who have, like, I mean, what you would consider good technique and stuff, but it's but they train hard all day long, every day, and their mentality to like warming up, cooling down, and just general physical fitness is probably not as good as it should be. I'm at the other end of that spectrum, where I was incredibly active through my kind of teen years and in my early 20s, and then slowed it down because I became much more of a filmmaker and an editor and things, and definitely spent I mean, fuck. If you were listening to this right now and you're sitting on a sofa, like procrastinating or working, and you were sitting on a sofa, get the fuck up. Like,
Yes.
the thing is, you think I'm joking right now. I have had back problems for years now that are primarily caused by me editing off of a sofa. Like, let's say that whole flow year that I was doing all that flow stuff, most of that editing took place with me sitting on the sofa, and that was hours and hours, days and weeks, maybe even months of editing. My lower back has had so many problems. Right now, I'm slightly inebriated, so I'm not feeling the pain so much, which is a delight, because today I've been in agony because I was doing laches 2 days ago. Lots and lots of, well, not lots of training, a couple of hours of training.
It was quite a lot of training.
It was a decent amount, yeah. We had a good
swear
session.
we trained before then as well at some point. We must have.
We've trained a good...
The past few weeks, you have trained way more, and also...
Which, I'll say this to you, audience, motion is the lotion.
So you've started feeling way better.
Yeah,
but it's
my
putting
lower
your body
back.
in risk. It obviously still putting... But I'm not saying you should stop doing it, but because obviously you've had...
Oh, no, I need to do it more.
Exactly.
I just have to get past
the history of you, sitting down so much.
Yeah.
Your body's kind of like still... No, like it
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. It's
Like,
not
since
reacting
getting
well,
the
is
house,
it?
like, what, standing desk, I've got a fucking anti... what's this called? I've got a special mat to stand on. Like, I'm doing everything I can to improve my posture and improve my back and things. And since training kind of once or twice a week, which is more than I used to in the last couple of years, I'm generally, my back is getting better, but I did loads and loads of laches, which is a thing I've always been a bit weak in. And then yesterday, just working at my desk, standing up, my back just suddenly locked up. And for the last 24 hours, I've been in, I mean, honestly, the worst pain I've ever been in my life. Like, I went to a physio earlier and he could barely do anything for me. And it's just my upper back and my neck is so tense that I can't twist my head. I have to turn my whole body.
He struggled to get in my car today.
Yeah.
It was funny, but also like
Keelan just dropping the fact that yes, Keelan has passed his driving test.
woohoo! Fucking fuck you. Southeastern and Southwest trains, all of you fucking hate you.
Until your car breaks down and then you're back on the train.
Yes,
You're like,
then
oh,
I'd
shit.
want to love you.
But yeah,
can't.
I mean, just to sort of reinforce that, look after your bodies, because you genuinely do only have one. We're not robots yet.
Oh, please do.
And trust me, I will be a robot as soon as I can.
But also that means like, as well, even if you do take care of your body, just know your limits, because I don't know. I don't feel like my ankles were injured because I didn't know my limits, but also I didn't know my weaknesses actually.
That's the thing. I think so Keelan has had many, many ankle injuries over the past, and I think a lot of people think that the one that was in Spinning in the Wind was the one that did it, but actually you did it years ago at For the Love Movement.
That was the first one at For the Love Movement 2015 when I was 15 years old. I'm 19 now. And that was the first one, and potentially that was when I actually did the original
like the proper
injury.
ligament damage.
Yeah, because I've got an MRI and they said it's a chronic tear, full thickness tear, which means chronic, meaning over time, right? As in chronic. I thought chronic meant bad, but also means like...
I thought chronic just meant like sort of smoking a chronic or something like that, but I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. Like I've injured it loads of times. The one in Spitting in the Wind took 3 days, and then I was training again.
That was the crazy thing.
Yeah.
I remember For the Love Movement, and your ankle was bad, but it was like you've twisted it, it's fine, and like it's sort of you're in an event, there's a lot going on, and then after I don't remember you being out for a period of time after that, and then you've had a good few ankle things in the past. And that Spitting in the Wind one was
it was
exceptional.
Dreadful.
I mean, I was shocked, but within literally 2-3 days, he was training at full. I mean.
Yeah,
there's clips of you in Colorado going hard with no issue, but it's finally kind of caught up with Keelan. And actually, I saw a comment the other day that reinforced what I thought, which was that since you have been injured, I actually now prefer your style, because it has brought out like your actual style, and you're doing like crazy creative shit. Kind of, you're still doing super impressive stuff, but it's not like you're just going like, there's a big concrete, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and I think as well, watching back on it, I really hate all my clips in Spitting in the Wind, all my old clips. I just don't like, because I definitely was, I don't know, in the moment. I'm not saying like it felt bad, because I enjoyed training loads when I was doing all that. But looking back on the footage I've captured recently, I've actually been really happy with it.
I think also what Keelan doesn't realise here is that actually that's just because he had that fucking crazy bobblehead haircut. Which, by the way, so many people are like, when's Keelan growing his hair back?
I know.
When he shaved his head, I prayed to a god that I don't believe exists. I'm like, thank you.
No, listen, guys, I have no plans to have my hair as big as it used to be. Right now, it is, I'd say, fair. It feels long and it's not long, is it? It's growing back, and already I fucking hate the feel of it.
Yeah.
It's making me sweat more. No one knows how hard it is when you've got really thick hair. Like it's horrible. Being in America
if you had passed your driving test with that haircut, I would be shocked. Just at seeing you driving down the roads, I'd be like, what is that clown doing? Like, why is that guy wearing a wig?
I didn't like how it looked, though. I didn't like how it looked either, but it was just I was so used to it.
Well, it was you. That was the thing. Yeah.
I was so used to it, and there was people who liked it. And also, I don't like how the parkour looked with it, and that's so strange. But obviously, when I looked at it, I was like, wow, my head looks 5 times bigger than my head does feel.
Yeah.
When I shaved it, I was like, sick. Now my parkour looks better.
Well, the focus goes to your legs rather than your head.
Exactly. But also, if you love me for my hair, then fuck you.
Yeah, I think honestly, I mean, if you're that
but
kind
also,
of like,
thank you.
yeah, I mean, yeah, be
it's nice, but also
be polite and enjoy something, but also appreciate the physical.
Yeah.
There was loads of stuff we should have spoken about at the start, which was why are we doing? Oh no, we said why are we doing a podcast? Like we're trying to do more content, but also you and me beginnings. I met Keelan when he was what, 12? I think
no way. Was it actually?
I think he was 12. Yeah. Oh, in the old gymnastics gym that I also met my current girlfriend at. I say current, she's my wife. Like, and we're not married, but she's.
Yeah, no, I don't see you guys as.
No, like
I see you two. Well,
it's me and Sarah. It's not
it's
like
never been.
Oh, it's my girlfriend. I met her at that gym, and I also met Keelan, which sounds like I'm about to go on some weird romantic tangent, but that's how long ago it was. And yeah, this was when Motus didn't exist. No. And I remember when I started Motus, and I said to Keelan, I was like, oh, when Motus, like, if I ever get stage, I'll sponsor athletes, I'll sponsor you. And now that gym is now a weightlifting gym, but it has that little underground. So if you ever see us training in the underground gym, that's now in the back, like, corridor section of this old.
It has so much history if you think about it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like, my whole life, I work there now.
Yeah.
I met Giles there. I learned a lot of things.
Keelan was one of these weird kids who like never really did parkour, but was he was going to the gymnastics gym and doing flips, and I was like, oh, so like, and I started speaking to, and this is the weirdest thing, right? The day Keelan met me was the day that you had binge watched loads of.
Oh fuck yeah! So the day I met you was the day I stumbled across Visive Productions.
Yeah.
Because I watched Tim Sheaf. He was my favorite parkour athlete when I was younger, and I was like, oh shit, these guys also film Tim Sheaf. And I was speaking to you the whole day, not realizing
it was me. Yeah.
And that's fucking weird. That could have been anyone.
And then, but I remember just like asking you one day, like just about your kind of general knowledge of parkour, because he was super talented. Like this is like a little kid with spangly little legs.
I was gonna say
so skinny, like knees that bend inwards. And his knowledge of just general parkour and just thinking what was like good was just out the window. Like, I mean, which I guess you still get. Like you must, it's still a thing. It's just knowledge, isn't it? Like you find a hobby and then you slowly learn more and more about it, and then you discover this podcast and you're like, oh, I've reached the fucking holy grail.
That's the end, the end game.
Yeah, but so that was how that started, and now we're fucking 7 years later or something, and we're here.
But I didn't obviously I did go home and I was like, whoa, who have I just met? But obviously I don't know, I that wasn't the first time I discovered parkour, I'd say. And also the reason I wasn't doing jumps and shit is I didn't have a community. When you don't have a community and you watch people jump from wall to wall.
Well, and you had a breakdance background as well.
Exactly.
So and you were kind of flip
orientated,
dance driven,
Yeah, and you can't see in video, if you've never seen anything in real life, you can't see how big jumps are. So I obviously thought I could already do all that.
Keelan used to emulate like Tim's kind of breakdance windmill to like pop handstand to backflip shit perfectly. But just imagine like Tim being like kind of a chubby Tim Sheaf back then, and then Keelan was the lightest person on the planet. So it's a very different way it looked, but that was like all you did in the gym, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was fun days. I miss those days because I didn't worry about anything. I'd just come to the gym and just fuck around.
Welcome to life, my friend.
Yeah.
And you start waking up worrying about everything.
Oh, yep. Don't worry.
My knees are aching, my bones hurt.
Oh, yeah.
My bladder's going. I do need a piss actually, but I'm going to persist.
I don't even want to touch on this fact right now, but like could even in the future talk about where Tim Sheaf's going. I actually miss him.
I spoke to him the other day. I watched his second video that came out. He did the whole like, oh, I ate salmon and then I came my pants kind of thing, and everyone was like, ha ha ha. And then he announced another one. And yeah, I fucking laughed. Like I've laughed. He thinks he still does think the world is flat, but like a flat Earth thing I find ridiculous. Like there's stuff that I used to see him every single week without fail for over a year. Like he's still, I haven't seen him in over a year, but he's still I still consider him a friend. But there are parts of me that I've laughed at. I've been like, that's ridiculous kind of thing.
But the difference is you're going to laugh at, but you still respect like...
Yeah, and so I watched that first video and I kind of was like, whoa, that salmon thing and things. And then he put out a second video and I watched it. And I mean, honestly, like he was like, look, like... And this one was the one that kind of really resonated with me because he was like, I alienated the parkour community by going hardcore vegan. Like, I mean, he pushed me away.
Yeah.
Like, I tried to sort of communicate with him. Like, I turned vegetarian because of him.
Yeah.
Not because I wanted to do it, because it would make being around him easier. Because I did a trip to Thailand with him where every single meal for 7 or 10 days, I think it was, I think bar one, he preached veganism at every single meal. And I was like, fuck this. I'm just going to eat veggie around him just to keep him happy. Like, just so I wouldn't have to get preached at. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, wait, actually, this actually, like, is way better for my digestion and stuff. And then slowly, I mean, I've been veggie for years. But it was, so he alienated so many people and he made so many people kind of almost hate him and things. And he's so aware of that. I mean, he was making a living, making decent money, more money than the majority of athletes even nowadays, because he was so good at marketing himself.
Yeah.
Like Tim, I've always said this about Tim, whatever he wants to get into, he will be one of the best at. Not like the best, not like Olympic athlete or whatever.
Oh, no, but he knows, he will put his mind to
because
anything.
He fucking grafts.
Yeah, but also, he will not care what people think. Like the salmon thing, he's like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to be transparent with everyone. Because that's me. I'm not going to hide anything.
Yeah. You cannot deny that this guy has an insane work ethic, and also just like he's very, very true. If he believes something in that current moment, that is him, and he will not hide that. So when he gets into a conspiracy theory, and I've seen this guy jump from conspiracy theory to conspiracy theory to conspiracy theory, like he will not hide that. And in some ways, that is it sort of can be a failing of a personality, but also it can be seen as a good thing as well. I think there's a fine balance between things like that. Yeah. But yeah, I watched that second video and he was like, no one wanted me to stay vegan more than me. Like, I've given up my entire life. I set up this brand that is based off the back of this. And now I've kind of essentially thrown it all away. Like, I don't know what he's doing for money now. Like, he's not taking money from the brand. He's not working as an athlete.
Yeah, so exactly.
He moved up north because it was cheaper. Like, he was living in YouTube towers underneath KSI. Like, KSI, that fucking YouTuber who went and beat up Logan Paul or whatever the fuck happened. I don't really watch that stuff. But, like, he was living in the same building as him, earning decent money because he fucking grafted as a parkour athlete. And he was known as Tim Sheaf, world freerunning champion, for years after he was even the freerunning champion. And he worked hard. Yeah, I mean, simply, right now, he worked harder back then, fucking 5 years ago, than 90% of parkour athletes nowadays. And yet people shit on him because they're like, Rrr. And it's like, if you're not working that hard as a parkour athlete now, when the sport is even more developed as an industry, like, you need to step it up. Like, you could be.
I find that hard to talk to people about Tim Sheaf because I know a lot of people fucking hate what he's
doing.
Yeah. And I'm like, he's a chill guy. Like, he's doing bits.
That's the thing. If anyone's grafting, like, you can't deny that. Like, when you see people shitting on Jesse Flair. Like, I saw some Marrero put on Instagram the other day, like, oh, who's the most overrated freerunner? And somebody said Jesse Flair, and Marrero backed him up. And like, I will back up Jesse Flair until the day 100%. I die. Like,
you brought him to the exact gym we were talking about where we met.
Yeah.
Obviously, as a kid, I'm not gonna, as a kid, I feel like you have the best mindset because I'm not gonna shit on anyone when I'm a kid. I'm gonna think he's cool because I like him. But when I met Jesse, he was way better at parkour, as in not the flip side of thing and weird sort of shit.
Yeah.
He was way better at parkour than I could have ever imagined. Like, he's done, what has he done? At Baby 45, he's done...
180 to cork out.
180, to cork out. I've done the 180 to pretty, and I know a lot of people
I don't think anyone else has done 180 to cork out.
No,
that's not saying no one else can.
Exactly.
But that was years ago.
is fucking hard. Like he is very good, and also he has put out an amazing amount of videos, and he's got a lot of subscribers on his own channel that were not recently acquired, but back in the day acquired from just tutorials and stuff.
Well, I mean, Jesse is one of those people who I think I mean, he's still killing it. He's doing a lot of stunt work now. He's just dropped his own shoe. Like, he's still having a huge impact. I think maybe I don't want to say this outright because I don't think there's a limit to anything. Like, he could, in 5 years' time, change the game again. Yeah. But I think he had a prime period where he was the top fucking guy. Like, in the same way that Tim Sheaf was the top guy. In the same way that Storer are, like, the top guys at the moment. Like, these things fluctuate, and Jesse at one time was killing it. And with that peak, with that height, you get a lot of hate. And I mean, parkour is hugely English and European. There's so many of us over here, and we love to hate Americans. But I will confidently say that if you invite Jesse to a fucking dinner party, like, he will like I fucking love that guy. Like, and I mean, we need to keep.
You said this, yeah.
We need to keep. I was at dinner with some Scottish guys years and years ago, and I don't want to sort of dish dirt on PKGen and whatever, but some of them were sort of PKGen guys, and they were shitting on Jesse so hard, and I said that same thing to them. I was like, if he was here right now, he would be the most fun guy in the room, and you would undeniably like be able to, right? and you wouldn't be able to deny it. Like, he would light up the room, and you would not be able to deny that he's a nice guy. Because he is. But everyone has a persona online. Whether or not that's a healthy thing, a good thing, I don't know. Like, but Jesse has done a huge amount for the sport. Tim's done a huge amount for the sport. Like, there are these people who come along and they do so much that they do bring along some hate, and what they then go on to do after that. Like, I mean, let's say I fucking dropped out of the sport tomorrow. Like, and I'm not comparing myself to Jesse and Tim, but like, if I dropped out of the sport tomorrow and then suddenly went hardcore Christian or something, that shit would get spread. Like, so, Giles is a preacher now, like, and there would be gossip or whatever. Like, even if you fucking did, like, whatever, like, so once you reach a certain amount of like people talk about you, that shit will happen, and I think you can't discredit what those people did up until that point.
No, but also I feel like Jesse still is in. I haven't seen anything recent from him, but I still feel like he's in obviously the parkour circle of things.
Jesse's an interesting one because I mean, he's just dropped a shoe, which is a big deal. But also, I feel like his social presence has calmed down a little bit. Although, actually,
is he just trying to like maybe find himself a bit more in social?
Well,
media?
I know he's dropping a film, which
really?
But I saw the trailer for it, Airwhip, and it's fucking. I'm excited for that.
I haven't seen that.
Well, he showed it to me on his phone. So when he did the tour,
right.
You know, he did the tour.
Yes.
So he wanted me to go and film that tour, and I couldn't because I mean that was prime time of me going, shit, do I take on filming work? Because Jesse was like, I'll pay you quite a decent amount of money to do the tour, or it was like, all right, or I focus on Motus. And I was like, I've got to focus on Motus, because if I go away for 3 months and film a tour, like, Motus will die. And he went away and he filmed this tour, and George filmed the majority of it, and they had loads of athletes and things, and they're turning that into some form of a long form piece. I don't know exactly whether it's a documentary. I don't really know.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer. It looks fucking sick.
Really?
Sick. Really, really sick. And because the Jesse people hate is the like, hey, I'm Jesse LaFleur. I'm gonna show you how to do a fucking wall pop, and I'm gonna sound condescending because I'm the persona of Jesse LaFleur. Whereas I think this thing's gonna be very much like, hey, I'm Jesse LaFleur, and I'm in my 30s, and I'm a parkour athlete, and actually this sport isn't as easy to make it as you think. Like, from what I understand anyway, like, Jesse is going at this thing as a much more real, humble guy, and I fucking love that.
He is, and he's always been a very humble guy.
Yeah.
He always will be, he always is. He's never been not humble, but I think anyone, even people who don't do parkour, who do YouTube, you have to kind of put on a slight bit of fake personality. It's like when, you know, like if you talk to a camera and you act like yourself, you look back at it and you're like, oh, that didn't seem like me. Yeah, you're like, that didn't seem like me. But if you slightly overdo it.
But that's why podcast is so good, because you get to hear the real fucking sexy side.
Yeah. But if you slightly overdo it and you watch it back, you're like, what the hell? That sounds like me.
Because I think really when you know you're putting this out and potentially 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 or 100,000 people are going to see it, you want to feel more confident within what you're putting out.
Yeah.
Like, you want to feel like you're being like, okay, that's me. I'm big balling it there. Like, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm Keelan, I'm doing my vlogs, and people fucking love them. And actually inside you're like, I look like a fucking cunt. Like,
yeah, no, you do, and you have to get uncomfortable
to be comfortable.
when you
Exactly. I mean, what we had written down here to tangent, because this is Friday the not 13th. It's Friday the 15th of March, and early this morning. So we were obviously talking about health, importance of looking after oneself and things, and early this morning, Jake Phelps, who is the editor and basically the face of Thrasher magazine of skateboarding, was announced as deceased. He kicked it, or he fell off his board, whatever you would say. And I mean, I am not a skateboarder. I've never been a skateboarder, but I've watched. I wouldn't even say a decent amount of Thrasher. Like I've watched a bit, King of the Road, that kind of thing. Undeniably, this guy from just reading the internet was a huge impact to the sport. And to be completely honest, I'm like, shit. Like, I mean, this guy obviously used to be much more of a skater. Now he's much more of a personality, part of a brand. I'm like, shit, I can see things that I resonate here with.
Yeah.
He died at 56 years old, and I'm like, for the last couple of years, I've been like, I might be dead in a year, like, whether at my own hand or just out of fuck knows, like, but anyway, we'll move away from that. That's why I'm paying a therapist £40 a month. But it's £40 a month, £40 a fucking week. It's
fucking money.
Yeah, I know, but it's worth it. It's fucking great. I love it. He died at 56, left the biggest impact. I mean, people are saying that skateboarding will never be the same. People are saying that he was skateboarding. He embodied the Thrasher style of skateboarding, committing to shit, getting fucked up. Like, and he put a big statement out about like the skateboarding going to the Olympics and saying like, if those guys on the podiums don't have scabs, then it's not real. Like, shit like this. Like,
but I know that also sounds like a bit shit that he's saying stuff like that.
Nah, I rate it.
No, yeah, that's what I mean.
I've heard some allegations about him that I don't agree with. In the sense, like, people saying that he's racist and stuff. I'm not saying I rate the guy if he is.
But I feel like he cares more about skating than anything in the whole entire world.
Yeah, and that's why this resonates with me, because I'm like, that's me with parkour. And maybe I'm not as outspoken as him. Like, maybe I'm not on the internet like, fuck you, stick your precisions 3 times or whatever.
Yeah, but
maybe my brain thinks that. But
but for you to say that, it takes a fucking load, because you don't want to say that. You know what I mean? He's said, I mean, maybe obviously he just wrote that and not thought about it at all. But I don't know. I just feel like he committed full throttle towards skateboarding is my life and skateboarding is me.
And I want to be that more. I don't want to die at 56. I mean, the guy, from what I saw, was a heavy drinker, smoker, everything on top of that kind of thing. Like, I want to put more focus on looking after myself.
Yeah.
But I also want to put focus on the fact that there is nothing more important in my life than parkour. Yeah. And it's always been that way for the last however many years. And at this stage, I don't have anything left. Like, I'm almost 30. He's 56. He's 26 years older than me. But that doesn't sound that scary. That doesn't sound that far away anymore.
Yeah.
Like, 26 years, I feel like it could fly by. And I'm like, shit, if I can leave the legacy he's left. No, I don't know. Okay, wait, rewind. I don't want to die at 56. I want to have grandkids, and I want to sit them on my knee and show them the legacy I've left. But like, I was just reading about him earlier, and it's just interesting. Like, that's the impact I want to have on the sport. Like, if I die tomorrow, I want people to feel like that sort of I embodied some level of parkour, or at least I helped parkour get to where it is. And I say this to people occasionally, and I've said it before, and people are like, "Oh, you've already done it," and I'm like, "No, not in my eyes.
In the scale that you.
In my eyes, I have not done it. Like, until like I have athletes under the Motus. I mean, now Motus is my vessel to make my dreams of what I want to do within parkour happen. Yeah. And until Motus has multiple, and I mean like shitloads of athletes who have grown up underneath it and have lived sustainable lives as athletes or content creators, etc., and they have lived that purely because they're fucking good at parkour or they're fucking good within this industry, then I haven't succeeded. And until I have facilities and until I have, I don't know, whatever, like, there's this shit I need to do. And I could die tomorrow and I might get some fucking Instagram or Facebook statuses about me. But like, that's not enough for me. Like, I want to fuck this sport up in the best way.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Like, because I'm past doing it as an athlete. Like, I can't be the Dom Tomato kind of thing. Like,
But I think that's the reason why skating is skating. Like, if you think of all the content that's being putting out with the skate world, obviously I'm like every day. I can't deny it. I talk about skating probably more than I do a parkour because
because you watch a lot. Like
I literally, without fail, so far in my life, I've probably watched skating every day because Thrasher put out more than a video a day of skating, not a vlog, not anything like that.
He's
of
trying
skating.
to go down that tangent again.
Yeah, I'm going down that tangent again, but it doesn't matter because I'm trying to say, why the fuck is parkour not doing that? It's so simple.
The guy who's churning out 2 vlogs a week is trying to
I'm doing vlogs, but like that's why we're heading with the Motus way because it's the way, and Motus will be the next sort of.
I mean, you got to play the game. Nothing against vlogs, but
no, of course, and that's
at the
what
end
I'm
of the
doing.
day, I mean, we'll 100% do a whole episode on this.
Yeah,
I would be down to do it tonight, but I'm in pain and my bladder is full.
But I'm saying that he, as a figure,
embodied,
he pushed the way of skating, to be that. I don't know, to be just skating, to not try and be anything else.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah, and that's why I feel like skating has made it into like actual fashion,
the mainstream
fashion, without pretending to be anything else.
Yeah,
parkour's not going to be like that, is it? If we don't just,
I think there's enough. I think the majority of people care. I think there are people get sidetracked by the quick gratification of social media, and that's not even just been parkour. That's in life. Like, I mean, there are people just...
Yeah, but everyone has. I have.
Yeah. It's the fucking last 10 years has been crazy for just human development.
Mm-hmm.
Like, actually insane. Wait, maybe, 10, 15 years? Like, we went from having no internet. Like, I remember getting our first computer and you typed in Word or you typed in worms. No, not worms. No, lemmings.
What?
You typed in lem, L-E-M, or you typed in Word.
What do you mean? Like,
so if you typed in Word, you could type a Word document, which on our first computer was this fucking tank in the corner of the room, and you couldn't save it, you couldn't do anything. You just typed it and you could write stuff.
And you could just look at it.
And I think we maybe had some old school printer, maybe. And then, or you could type in Lem and you could play like the first version of Lemmings. Do you remember Lemmings?
No.
It was a game like you'd like had to guide these things off a cliff and they jump off and die.
What the fuck? My first computer wasn't like that. I mean, as in like the house one, but it still wasn't.
Yeah. And now, you're getting there's a reason mental health issues are growing. I had this build around the other day, and he's like, the guy from the fucking Prodigy killed himself, Keith.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I killed himself because everyone says they have fucking depression nowadays. Like, that's why he killed himself. And I was like, yeah, no, it's not just because people say they have depression that more people are killing themselves. Like, no. He killed himself because, I mean, I'm sure he had a whole load of shit going on in his life, but like the rise in this stuff is because age, I don't know, there's probably fucking 6-year-olds getting given phones that they can then compare themselves to someone else. I can compare myself to, this fucks with my head. I'm 29. I can compare myself with people I don't know who are younger than me, who are millionaires by building brands or being...
It's hard to determine the ratio of comparing yourself or being
and then
inspired by it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I look at it because I'm like, oh, that's inspiring, but also then that digs into my head.
Yeah, it's very dangerous.
And we get this with parkour as well. It's like there are 19-year-olds who are living not a shit life. I don't want to say that. Like they're living a life they don't enjoy, working, doing whatever. Like they finish school and maybe they're super talented, and they look at Keelan and they're like, who's this dickhead? Like doing some shit. Like he's got shit ankles. He hasn't done any big Conprees recently. Why is he getting all this cool shit?
I think that all the time.
Yeah.
I sit in my bed and I'm like, I don't deserve this, but also it is to do with.
But then if you say you don't deserve it, it's this weird like self-love thing. Because this is the thing I deal with. People are like, you're the best filmmaker ever, and I'm like, I'm not a filmmaker anymore, and no, I'm not. And then it's like, well, actually, if you put yourself down too much, then you throw yourself into like a dark place, and it's fucking crazy. So
sometimes thinking selfishly is actually a good thing.
Well, you have to. Yeah. There's a balance. You have to love yourself, but you can't let that turn into like ego.
For sure.
And actually, I saw a study yesterday that says that happy people, peaceful people, statistically, what was it? It was out of all the people who live and Jesus Christ.
Live and let die.
No.
Sorry, it's James Bond.
Out of all the people who listen to heavy music, statistically they're the happiest.
Really?
Because the fast, repetitive nature and like the like hardcore aspect. I saw this on Reddit. I'm probably ruining the sort of. The
You're going off
descriptive-
Reddit, are you?
Well, no,
but Reddit is
it
also-
was a study. It was a study.
Yeah.
Which I suppose it basically what it was saying was that like the heavy aspect, the complex music gave the brain way more to like appreciate, but also the lyrics and the sort of vocals, they helped people, even if they weren't actually screaming at the top of their lungs anyway, they helped people kind of visualize and experience the feeling of letting off energy and angst and everything like this. And obviously a lot of heavy music is typically angry or political and things, and therefore you can live kind of vicariously through that, and therefore that makes you more at peace. Whereas then you get people who listen to fucking, I don't know, some bullshit, and they're angry because they don't have that like that way to
They don't have that release. And also I feel
release,
like when
that's
I
the
listen
word.
to heavy music, is like I almost feel like the song or the artist is saying not my thoughts, but they're
but you
like,
can put yourself on the same
you
plane.
can
Like,
put, yeah, exactly. And it kind of numbs you don't have to think about anything while listening to it.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like this song that's playing right now is my brain thinking without you doing any work. It sounds stupid like that, but I'll sit there and I'll listen to someone
Whereas when
scream
it's like
about stuff, and you're not screaming about it. They're screaming about it. And it's about something that's pretty like true
yeah,
and meaningful.
yeah. Because when you listen to like, I'm a shy boy sipping lean and I'm
But also
screaming in it, and people are like, oh mate, that beat's so fucking sick, and you're like, cool, what's the lyrical content of that? I had a fucking straight up argument. Stormed Barcelona one night in the hotel. Was it even a hotel? I don't know. I had an argument with Tim Sheaf about, because he was listening to Young Lean, and I got the lyrics up and I was like, what the fuck does this even mean? Like, what is this drivel? And it's like, I'm a shy boy, repetitive bullshit. And then, like, I don't know, the other day, a couple of weeks ago, we're on WhatsApp, and Max is like, wait, guys, I just found out that in America, if you ride in an ambulance, you have to pay, few grand. I can't remember what it was. Max was talking about some thing in America to do with the health system and the fact that you have to pay money to ride in an ambulance.
yeah,
and like,
you do.
to have a kid, you have to pay. If you're a pregnant woman in America and you don't have insurance, you're paying thousands just to have a child. If you didn't fucking realize this, anyone who lives in the UK and is like, yeah, let's all vote for the Conservative Party and let's leave England. Like, if you're pro Brexit and you're pro our current government, who are currently, I mean, I don't want to get too political, but there's a lot of people in that government who are trying to privatise the NHS.
Oh, I hate you.
It's I feel like we've probably just lost 10 listeners maybe.
Fuck you guys, we didn't want you anyway.
Out of the 14 listeners we had.
Yeah.
So Max is talking about this, and I was just like, oh, and I just quoted a couple of lyrics from a song that are about the privatization of the NHS by a quite a heavy band, and he was like, oh, what's that from? And I told him the band, and he was like, oh, what the fuck? Like, and he's like, yeah, because this music is political. This is saying like, fuck you for trying to privatize the healthcare system that enables us to have free healthcare. Like, I could get cancer. I might already fucking have cancer. The amount of shit I've put in my body. I could get cancer and I would go to the hospital and they could treat me and I would not have to pay a penny. If you go to somewhere like America where you don't have that, you get cancer and you are debt-ridden for life unless you have decent insurance. And I'm trying to build a brand off parkour. Of course I don't have decent insurance. Like, so, and that's why I like heavy music, because it tackles those subjects. It's not like, oh, I love you, and you're in the club, and you got a nice bum, and I like dancing and beats, and I like wearing gold. I will put on some Rick Ross occasionally and feel like I'm a fucking king, or Drake, or something like.
I think it's more like those sort of songs are sort of more. They're just like fun.
Like Lord Knows by Drake and Rick Ross. I skipped the Rick Ross verse because it doesn't match up to the Drake one. But Lord Knows by Drake, I love that song. I know every single lyric to that first verse. You will see me driving my car blasting that
I
sometimes.
didn't know you were into that. I've got that in one of my playlists.
No. And he's like,
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is. I have to have the song to know it. But like, he's like, oh, it's so good. He talks about like skeletons in his collars. And
It is fun, and I'm sure that the thing is, right, for the people who are making it though, this is what I guess, because like obviously we're talking about the music that we like, And because it's hard, because you got to think of people. I have friends that are obviously really into it, like people like Jack Milnes. I don't know if Jack Milnes is going to watch this. He's super.
I mean, you can't watch it because it's a podcast, Keelan. Come on now.
Oh, fuck you! But like, he's really into that type of music, and when I talk to him about it, he has so many points about like, well, no, like the reason I like this music is because if you think about how talented the people are at making it, obviously not lyrically. But like, well,
I mean, that's a big fault because if you're a lyricist, like you're like, oh yeah, I'm a rapper. So what do? You use your mouth and your brain to make music. Oh, but you can't write lyrics for shit. Okay.
But also, like, if they're enjoying, it's a bad example because I don't listen to them enough. So I don't listen.
I listen to hip hop a lot, like and grime. I fucking.
You probably listen to it more than I do, to be fair. So that's
Dave. Do you know Dave? I sound like the most middle class. Like,
do you know Dave?
Do you know Dave? He's a current grime artist, right?
I don't.
He's had some popular songs on Radio 1. I've heard them. You know, when the kids put on Radio 1 in the car, and I listen. No, so there's this. I don't know the exact terminology of what's grime, what's hip hop, etc., etc.
I'm just gonna say I'm not a fan of grime, but go.
Well, so I mean, he's called Dave. I like that because he's gone like, oh, I'm not Skepta, I'm not whatever, and no discredit to Skepta because he's put out some fucking bangers.
Yeah.
But the first song of his album, outstanding. His whole album actually is really, really. I listened to it the other day on a walk when I wasn't listening to a podcast. Shout out my fucking dog walkers. We're an hour and 25 minutes in. So if you're doing a dog walk that's this long, you're killing it. Really, the song like twists in this last third into like talking about depression and mental health and battles and things, and it's not your drivel. I'm not so. I love hip hop. I love rap. I love any kind of music you can give me where I can tell that the artist is undoubtedly passionate and talented within that realm. Mm-hmm. You could just play me some fucking instrumental guitar shit or whatever. I just don't like your generic, like I'm trying to fit, not necessarily the mold, but I'm trying to fit the image. That's almost the issue.
That's so annoying because I need to think of how I can not sell myself, because obviously I listen to some music that people my age and also you.
But you listen to some crazy shit.
Yeah, but like I can't.
Like Keelan's family. What have you? I mean, I wouldn't say they're hippies, but like you've got some hippie influence in your family.
I have, but also it's the same as like when we went to see Architects. You remember when we went to see Architects?
Yeah.
We had. What's his name?
Phil, my mate Phil.
And I had a conversation with him about all the stuff that he used to listen to.
Yeah, I have a mate that I met. He's in his 40s. I used to work with him over a decade ago. When I was kind of in my gap year period, I was working at this like weird factory thing, and Keelan just threw a tissue in the bin, and did you nail it?
No, I fucking missed so badly. Look where
I almost went down the back of the filing cabinet. And this guy I've always connected with because he's always been into heavy music. And we're driving down to Brighton, and Keelan's in the back and he's in the front, and they're talking about
it's like kind of trance music. But the thing is that I don't know. I hadn't talked to him properly before.
Yeah.
But that was so much of a connection because I don't know anyone my age that I can talk to about that type of music at all. I talk to my dad about it, and that's about it.
I mean, like what? Like it's 70s trance, 80s trance?
Yeah, kind of. It's like you get people who go to like raves nowadays and they listen to like and I'm just going to say I fucking hate it so much. That came from an era of music where they'd mix up different samples of things. They'd like, I don't know, some of my most favourite songs, they almost seem like a dream when you're listening to them. And it's so, like, that's what I mean. This is why I'm annoyed because I can't explain.
But I mean, your like knowledge of things like the Beatles is outstanding compared to mine.
So like the way that the Beatles would make their songs, and of course they make things like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which is like LSD sort of related and sort of things. But I like that it's not obviously political and things like that, but it's not screaming, I got fucking money and hoes and shit like that.
Yeah.
But I almost think when I'm listening to this, I either picture sitting in the fields of where I live. I thought about this recently.
Yeah.
I think about sitting in the fields of where I live and not caring about a single thing.
Yeah.
And looking at individual things like the sheep, like the trees, and there you go. What you're saying about hippie as fuck.
No, but it sounds great.
But you sit there and you're just like,
I can't do that.
But
my head's too busy.
Like this is just life, and none of this matters.
Yeah.
Of course, it matters to your mind, but it doesn't. it's nothing.
I think that's the thing.
It's nothing.
I wish I could do that. I'm trying to get better at kind of meditation and things. My head is it just talks constantly.
There you go. That's my meditation.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about music, and apparently that's the thing. Heavy music with like fast, complex things, it enables your brain to.
I get the same connection with heavy music though.
Well, because there's more things to focus on.
Yeah.
So because it's so technical, and you're listening to guitar, that's like you're like, holy shit, what's going on? And your brain has so much to think about. Whereas I fucking read this article about Post Malone the other day and why he's so successful, and it's because every single one of his songs follows the exact same pattern, and like within the first 30 seconds, it'll play. He'll have like the chorus already come in like straight away.
Oh, really?
So the listener straight away is like aware of exactly how that song is going to be from start to finish.
So they don't feel alienated by the whole thing.
All his like lyrical structures and things, they're all built off basically the same, and it's very clever, obviously. But it's all built off the same thing. So for a listener, within the first listen, you can get to know it. Whereas if I blasted some fucking, I don't know, Arcane Roots or something, you'd be 30 seconds in, and then 2 minutes later, the song is a different song.
It is.
It's like a musical journey.
You played me some things that even though now I listen to like a fair amount of heavy stuff, I'd have to listen. That's the thing. There we go. You have to really appreciate the song.
Yeah.
It can't be a first listen sort of
I love
thing.
it how this was meant to be what we have written down as a music minute.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because we know that both of us are so passionate about music. I fucking love it.
We're still going to do it though.
Yeah, but the fact that, I have to listen to a song that you've shown me 3 or 4 times on my own after you've sent it to me, because I have to get used to it so I know like what it's about and sort of just how it musically sounds. I don't know. You got to really put detail to it.
We're going to go into Music Minute in a second, which myself and Keelan are both going to do a minute on the clock of talking about our not necessarily our favourite, but an artist that we're passionate about to try and convince you guys to go and listen. But the one I'm going to talk about, and this is going to spoil it for Keelan, is we were in Colorado 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I've been playing this on the drive a lot, this band, because I mean they're one of my favourite bands in the world ever since I discovered them.
I already know who you're talking about.
And I think the majority of the van, this is splitting the windows, the majority of the van were not necessarily that keen. And there was a particular song that I had tried to kind of really force on people because I thought it was just exceptional. And one day Max just came up to me and he was like, last night it clicked. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, I listened to it. He was like, I lay in bed on my own. I put on my headphones. I listened to it and it's fucking incredible. And I was like, there you go. And then slowly he got like his in, like he got like the way in. And I'll talk more about this band in a couple of minutes, or hopefully exactly a minute. But it is you have to listen sometimes. But so we're gonna try and do this every time we do this podcast, which currently
it's an hour and 30 minutes.
I know
I remember when we hit an hour and I was looking.
This podcast is meant. I do apologise. As this thing goes on, we're going to try and refine this and maybe keep it an hour because this is a little excessive.
Probably gonna have to refine this, but we'll get better at it in the future.
We will. I'm not going to edit this one though. I'm just going to keep it the same length.
Yes, thank fuck.
Yeah.
But in the future, we'll probably.
Where's my timer? All right, I'm going to have to go for a piss while you're doing this, so I'm going to have to trust you. But so. The Music Minute is a minute where each of us talk passionately. Oh Christ! Okay, so we're currently in my office, which is in my house, top of my house, and my bathroom's next door. So if you listen very quietly, no, you can't hear it. Oh wait, I don't know if you can hear that, but Keelan's having a wee. Music Minute is a single minute, 60 seconds. Where each of us will talk passionately about an artist, current artist, past artist, something that we feel passionate about that we feel like you guys need to listen to more. And Keelan is first up. He's stepping up to the microphone.
Have your piss now, Giles.
All right, I'm going to start the clock.
All right, I've got to talk about my favorite. Well, just
okay. Wait.
I know what I'm going to say.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so my minute has started, and already we are near to 5 seconds. I'm actually going to talk about more an artist that I've been listening to more frequently recently, and I'm going to be super surprised if any of you know who this is, but recently I've been listening to The Orb. Now, The Orb, I don't even know where they're from. They're exactly the same sort of genre that I've been talking about, sort of the trance kind of electronica brand. I can't even call it a brand. it's the genre of trance music, I'm going to say, electronica. And I'm driving nowadays, and I don't have a phone or Bluetooth connection in my car, so I've been listening to CDs that my dad has given to me. And one of the CDs is The Orb Adventures. The name is Adventures Beyond the Ultra World, which sounds crazy, but some of the songs on there are 20 to 30 minutes long. Have you heard what I've just said? We're on.
Oh, he's 1 minute 6. He's fucked
1 minute 6.
Also, he pissed all over the toilet seat. So,
there we go.
You know,
I think I gave like.
Basically, go and listen to The Orb. I don't listen to them, but I probably should.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. You might like them. You might not.
I'm keen.
It depends if you want to listen to a 20-minute song.
No, but I really like listening to people who just are passionate about music they like. I remember I drove to Denmark with Callum Powell years and years ago, and ended up at the end of that journey, I had a list so long on my phone of music that he'd played and also just spoken about that I was so excited to listen to. And half of it I didn't actually get into in the end because he's into some fucking crazy shit. But like,
yeah,
I went through and listened to every single thing and tried to get into each one because it was like, if someone is this passionate about something, then like it's worth giving.
Oh, I just find it so hard to show people the music I'm into. It's so hard,
especially when you got long songs like that.
Yeah, like, and you can't. Because a lot of people end up talking over it, like
exactly. Oh my god!
I end up putting it on, and it sounds shit if people are talking over it.
Yeah.
Also to them, I think as well, because you're not listening to every detail.
There are certain songs, right? I mean, I shouted at Sarah once in the car because she turned down a song, literally as the fucking the crescendo happened. Like it was this emotional thing, and it was building for like 4 minutes. And it kicked in, and she turned it down and was like, "What do you want for dinner?" And I was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" Because for the last 4 minutes, have been driving and like passionately listening and being like, "Here we go, here we go."
Yeah.
And I knew it was coming. And she'd probably been staring out the window thinking about whatever. And just turned it. I literally shouted at her, and I was like, "I'm sorry." Like, I did feel bad, but also I was like, "What the Jesus Christ."
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll jump onto my minute. I'm gonna just hit the clock right now. Arcane Roots, honestly, Arcane Roots. They broke up last year. We were planning on using the song Curtains for the desert section of Spitting in the Wind. I actually edited a draft to it, and it would have been a fucking smack in the face. Absolutely outstanding. Just go and listen to that song. If you listen to one Arcane Roots song, listen to Curtains. And the song was not blocked on YouTube for the couple of months building up to this, and then a week before we had to release it, it was blocked, and I had to, oh my god, we're running out of time, and I had to Keelan had to re-edit it. I couldn't find a new song. I'd lost all passion for that section of the edit. Outstanding band, ranging from electronic beauty, orgasmic stuff to technical fucking heavy scream guitar, fucking outstanding. And then they broke up, and I was devastated, but I saw them a number of times live. Fucking outstanding. You have to listen to every single song they've ever put out. So good. Look at that on the fucking minute.
How the
Boom.
fuck do you do that?
59
and also
minutes.
You sold that way better than I did.
Well,
I ended up getting into like why I'm listening to it. And
maybe I'm just more passionate.
Yeah, maybe you are. Maybe I just.
Fuck, we've hit an hour and 37 minutes. We need to. I feel like we need to wrap this up.
We should wrap it up.
So this has been completely off the wall. We still don't have a name. Are we going to put this up as the Parkour Podcast and then ask everyone to rename it?
We might have to put, yeah. So what we'll do.
The problem is I don't want people to be like, nah, Parkour Podcast is great, because I don't, as you said, I don't think it can be the Parkour Podcast.
Yeah, I just don't think
if we're chatting about heavy music for half an hour.
Yeah, no, exactly.
It's not. It
needs to be something Motus related then, I think, because
the Motus Prodcast, the Motus Mongrels, the Motus Mongoloids. Sarah said something about motor mouth. Jesus Christ.
Motorhead.
Motus motor mouths. The Giles and Keelan show, but no. That's not a thing.
You got to think of a name.
Basically, what we need is I need someone. You've got, let's say, a week, because I want to get these things pumping out. I want a name. I want a jingle, as in a little musical ditty, like a welcome to the Parkour Podcast, but actually this isn't the fucking name. And
something like that.
I want artwork as well. And the reason I'm asking this is because you guys are all fucking talented, and We're going to build an industry within this sport. And what we're going to do first is we're going to get people... Keelan's just left the room. Doesn't like the sound of this. We're going to get people to do things for free, promise them the payment of exposure, and then not deliver it. So if you make some artwork for this podcast, I simply will not promote you. That's a lie. I probably will. I'll probably be way too gratuitous. No, seriously. I don't know where we're going to post this. Instagram, Facebook. Keelan just fucking smashed into the table.
Yeah.
Wherever we need a name. Currently, we're putting this up under the Parkour Podcast. That's all we know. Moving forward from that, once we establish a name, so maybe after episode 2, I would love some help with some artwork and a jingle. Because really, I want this thing to be regular. I want this thing to be fun. I want you to be striding around those fields, walking your dog with glee. Any final words, Keelan?
Just let us know what you fucking hated us talking about, what we rambled on about too much. And yeah. And also, if there's anything that we missed out, just let us know. If there's anything you want us to talk about.
They'll be like, hate Jesse LaFleur more. Fuck Tim Shee. Fuck this.
And we'll be completely honest and be like,
we're going to get on it.
Fuck you.
Don't worry. We got some, topics coming up. Parkour fashion, parkour on Instagram and YouTube, and how fucking people are just making absolute bullshit for the sake of likes. And then one day Instagram's just going to shut down for good, and those people are going to be without a job, age 29.
I can't wait for that.
And also another thing we want to talk about is how to get nonstered, how to get noticed and sponsored. So if you want to get sponsored by the Motus Projects, listen to the next podcast, because it probably won't happen for you. But you can listen and hope anyway.
Yeah.
Apparently, what podcasts do a lot, because I listen to a few of them, is they ask people to share it, subscribe to the podcast, and also leave a review. Basically, go and leave a 5-star review, even though we've put out one episode that is currently 42 minutes longer than we planned, and you probably fucking hated. But thank you very much for listening.
Yeah. This is the awkward part. We need to end it.
This is okay. We need an outro jingle. Thank you. Oh my god, I know what we can do. So George sent me a voice message earlier. George has only recently been sending voice messages. This will be the last thing you hear on this podcast. Let me just whack this volume. Here we go.
Thank you. Good evening. Good night.
George McGowan, my favourite person in the world, closing us out tonight with...
That log travelled some distance.